In this chapter, we're going to use the robot chassis we created earlier and add a battery to it. In order to place the battery, we'll be constructing a mount to hold the battery in place. As we go into the electrical portion of the build, there are many additional safety precautions we need to take. Always remember that when we are wiring our robot, make sure that the battery is unplugged at all times, as well as the main circuit breaker is open. Batteries that appear to be damaged must be handled and properly disposed with caution due to the corrosive acid in the batteries. Lastly, always make sure that when the robot is about to be turned on, team members are no longer working on the robot. For more safety information, you can go to www.usfirst.org. As long as everyone is aware and attentive of the situation, bodily injuries can be easily avoided. Let's begin by opening the main robot assembly. Now we have to decide where to place the battery. We should place the battery near the back of the base plate for easier access and better weight distribution. Now that we have decided where to put the battery, we would like to have a clear field of vision so we can work on the battery more easily. Since we know that we only need the base plate to be visible, we can deploy the Isolate feature in SolidWorks. To isolate the base plate, right-click on the base plate and select Isolate. Notice that only the base plate is visible to our viewing. Now that we have isolated the base plate, let's import the 12-volt battery into our assembly. If you don't have the battery, you can find it by searching for 12-volt battery in the 3D Content Central. Then let's place coincident mates between the battery and both side walls. Then place a coincident mate to make the battery line up with the end of the plate. Now we can make the bracket, which will hold the battery. Since this bracket is going to be using references from the main assembly, we have to make a new part inside the current assembly. We can do this by opening the Insert Component drop-down menu and clicking on New Part. Now we have to specify where we want to place the new part. To do so, we're going to click on the back face of the battery. In order to sketch our bracket, we'll rely on the Line tool in the Sketch toolbar. We first have to sketch the inside edges of our bracket. To do so, trace the top and open side of the battery. Then draw two lines as shown in order to have the space for the holes used in our mounting bracket. Let's give each line a dimension of 20 millimeters. Apply the sketch fillet with a radius of 4 millimeters as shown on the corners of the intersecting lines. Since our bracket would most likely be made out of sheet metal, we'll have to use the fillet tools to curve the corners so it's more durable. Now we can go ahead and make the outer edges of the bracket. Select the Offset Entities tool from the Sketch tab and then click on the sketch we've just created. Set the offset distance in the Property Manager to 3 millimeters and enable reverse to change direction of the offset if it's needed. Exit the Property Manager, and now we just have to draw two lines to connect the inner edges to the outer edges of the bracket. Then, use the Extrude Boss Base tool and set our bracket extrude to be 100 millimeters wide. Now we need to add the piece at the end of our bracket to restrict the movement of our battery. Start a new sketch on the side face of our bracket, and then draw a rectangle coincident with the top edge. Let's dimension our rectangle to 70 by 20 millimeters. Now we'll extrude the rectangle to be 3 millimeters thick, and use the reverse option if necessary. Now we've completed the battery bracket. To go back to our main assembly, we just simply have to exit the Edit Component feature. To do so, click on the Edit Component button in the toolbar. Now that we've placed the battery and created the bracket to hold it in place, we can go ahead and click on the Exit Isolate button located near the top of our window to reveal the rest of our assembly. In this video, we learned how to use the Edit Component tool to create a battery bracket in an existing assembly to hold a battery in place. We also learned how to use the Isolate feature to make large assemblies easier to work with.